He's fast becoming the most feared sight in baseball. South Korean pitcher Ryu Hyun-jin continues his red-hot streak in the majors. We have more on his latest achievements for the LA Dodgers. Breaking the ice over beers, that's the plan at South Korea's National Assembly as the floor leaders of Korea's ruling and opposition parties attempt to reach a compromise over bills that have blacked out parliamentary activity for weeks. Plus, it's one of the biggest escalations of the US-China trade war to date. Reuters reports that Huawei, the world's fastest-growing smartphone maker, is locked out of Android by Google after President Trump blacklisted the Chinese tech firm. Now, we are going to start with some sports news today because he might be the hottest pitcher in all of the Major League Baseball. As we speak, South Korean pitcher Ryu Hyun-jin has thrown yet another scoreless ball game in the MLB. His stellar performances throughout the season have people asking, will he make his first All-Star appearance later this year? Lee Seung-jae reports.
They call him the Korean Monster, and there's no arguing the LA Dodgers ace pitcher Ryu Hyun-jin is enjoying a monster season. He threw yet another scoreless ballgame on Sunday, this time against the Cincinnati Reds. Ryu threw 7 innings, giving up just 5 hits while striking out 5 Reds, helping his team win 8-3 and improving his record to 6-1. His latest gem gives him 31 innings without giving up a single run, lowering his ERA to 1.52, the best in the majors. What's even more impressive is his control, giving up only 4 walks during the entire season. He also holds the best strikeout-to-walk ratio in the majors. But a big question remains, will the lefty make his first career All-Star Game appearance when the annual game is held in Cleveland this summer? While the experts say yes, the bigger question is whether he might even start for the National League. With Max Scherzer having a down year, it could be a choice between Ryu, Zach Davies of the Milwaukee Brewers, John Lester of the Chicago Cubs, or Ryu's former teammate, Zach Greinke of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And with Dave Roberts, the manager of the LA Dodgers, leading the National League squad, Ryu could get the nod as the starting pitcher. The impressive season could not have come at a better time for the hefty lefty, as he's currently on his contract year after being granted a 1-year qualifying offer of $17.9 million to stay with the Dodgers. If Ryu avoids injury, he could command a monster contract in postseason, especially with super agent Scott Boras as his negotiator. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, the trade war between the US and China just ratcheted up a notch. Google has reportedly severed some of its business ties with Chinese tech giant Huawei. This follows the Trump administration's placing of Huawei and scores of its affiliates on a sweeping trade blacklist. Kim Hyo-sun with the details.
Reuters is reporting that Google has suspended transactions with Huawei that require the transfer of hardware and software products, except those covered by open source licenses. Citing an unnamed source, the report said the move deals a blow to the Chinese tech giant, as Huawei will immediately lose access to Google's Android operating system. New Huawei smartphone releases will lose access to popular applications and services, including the Google Play Store, Gmail, and YouTube. This comes as the U.S. Commerce Department officially added Huawei Technologies and its 68 affiliates to a trade blacklist late last week. Amid continued trade tensions between the world's 2 largest economies, the top diplomats of Beijing and Washington held a phone conversation on Sunday to discuss possible solutions. According to Beijing's foreign ministry, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi told U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, quote, not to go too far. He also stressed that Washington's recent words and actions have harmed the interests of China and its businesses. While explaining that Beijing is willing to resolve differences through negotiations, Wang added they should be on equal footing, hinting that it might be difficult to solve the prolonged trade war. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
The floor leaders of the ruling Democratic Party, main opposition Liberty Korea Party and minor opposition Bareunmirae Party will meet over a beer tonight in hopes of finding a compromise to end a prolonged standstill at the National Assembly. It will be their first three-way meeting between them, as two of the floor leaders were newly elected just this month. Eyes are on whether they will be able to reach a much-needed breakthrough, especially with lawmakers having to deliberate on bills related to people's livelihoods, as well as the government's extra budget proposal. The National Assembly has been out of action for weeks now, with tensions peaking after the ruling party and the minor opposition bloc put key reform bills on fast track, despite intense resistance from the main opposition party. Now, there have been growing concerns about South Korea's economy, with exports and investment both falling in recent months. A report from a private research institute suggests that over the next 4 years, the economy's potential growth rate will fall to just 2.5%. Go Ryun-hee reports.
Korea's potential growth rate continues to drop, and the situation isn't likely to improve in the near future. The potential growth rate indicates how much a country could grow without triggering inflation if it used all of its given resources. A report Sunday from the Korea Economic Research Institute sees Korea's potential growth rate falling to 2.5% from this year through 2022. This is down from the previous period's figure of 2.7%. The institute points out that the figure decreased sharply after the Asian financial crisis of the 1990s. And the global crisis a decade ago. As for this year's grim figures, researchers point to a decrease in productivity on the supply side. This means that local companies are investing less in facilities and R&D than they used to. A separate report the same day from Hyundai Research Institute explained which industries are going through especially hard times in terms of facilities investment. The institute says none of Korea's main manufacturing industries are experiencing continued growth. For instance, the auto industry experiencing a slowdown in investment, in line with the first quarter's slower growth in production and shipment. In electronics, production and shipment actually shrank, also indicating a slump in investment. To turn things around, analysts point to the importance of regulatory reform and a continued expansion of fiscal spending. For the companies themselves, they recommend improving the competitiveness of export products and reaching out to new markets. 고르니, Arirang News.
Now, President Moon Jae-in will meet with Denmark's Crown Prince Frederick and his wife, Princess Mary, at the Blue House later today to mark the 60th anniversary of the establishment of the two countries' diplomatic ties. The two sides are expected to discuss ways to expand their bilateral ties. It's the royal couple's first visit to Seoul in 7 years. During their official state visit from Monday to Wednesday, the Crown Prince and the Princess are also scheduled to hold talks with Prime Minister Lee Nak-yeon, meet Danish business leaders in South Korea and visit the DMZ. Now, it has emerged that China provided rice and fertilizer to North Korea last year. This is amid UN Security Council sanctions that prohibit any large-scale economic assistance to the regime. According to data from China's Customs Office, Beijing provided 1,000 tons of rice to the north, worth about $1 million between May and October 2018. The data also shows China sent 162,000 tons of fertilizer, worth more than $55 million. The shipments of apparently free assistance came shortly after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's visit to China in March last year, when he held his first summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Japanese Defense Minister Takeshi Iwaya has expressed his intent to restore diplomatic ties with South Korea. Japanese broadcaster NHK reported on Sunday that he stressed coordination among Tokyo, Seoul and Washington is crucial when it comes to dealing with North Korea. The Japanese daily Shanki Shimbun also reported earlier that Tokyo's defense chief is eager to sit down with his South Korean counterpart on the sidelines of the Shangri-La dialogue, which will be held in Singapore from May 31st to June 2nd. if the two ministers do meet, it will be the first such meeting since Tokyo accused a South Korean warship of locking its fire control radar on a Japanese patrol aircraft in December last year. Now, on a lighter note, in South Korea, May is a month for family. There's Parents' Day, Children's Day, and so much more. Today, in fact, is Coming of Age Day, when tradition has it that kids turning 20 this year become adults. As part one of a series on Family Month, our Lee Min-sun went to a ceremony for Coming of Age Day and filed this report.
The third Monday of May is celebrated as Coming of Age Day for young South Koreans marking their transition to adulthood. This year, some 630,000 people born in the year 2000 are starting a new chapter of their lives, which was celebrated at the Seoul Donhwamun Traditional Theater. Dozens of youth who are turning 20 years old gathered here to celebrate the coming of age with their families and friends. These celebrations date back to the early 10th century during the Goryeo dynasty. Tradition would have young men and women take on the ways of adults in their grooming and dress. The men would tie their hair into a top knot and don the traditional horsehair headdress called a gat. And the women would roll their hair into a bun with the traditional jade hairpin called a binyeo.
Our whole family came to celebrate a big day for my son.
I'm glad to be able to spend the day with my family. I also learned a lot about Hanbok. I'm looking forward to a happy life with my family. Love you, Mom and Dad.
I hadn't really thought of myself as an adult, since I'm still a student and economically dependent on my parents. But today got me thinking about what being an adult means.
Participants made their own hairpieces and listened to a brief lecture about the history of this day and their responsibilities and duties as grown-ups.
It's a ritual acknowledging that a child has become an adult. It's one way we learn to become responsible members of society.
These adults can now vote, they can drive a car, choose to get married, drink alcohol, or smoke. So events like these are held throughout the country to encourage new adults with their freedom to use it wisely. Lee Min-sun, Arirang News.
Now, South Korea has long been world famous for its archery skills, with South Korean teams winning gold in the women's events every single Olympic Games, stretching all the way back to 1988. That's when it was held right here in Seoul. Now, South Korea is choosing to share its experience and talents with other countries to help them raise their game as well. Our Kim Da-mi has more.
Learning to hit a bullseye like South Korea's world champions, students from Thailand are in South Korea to jointly train with Incheon National University. With the university's long tradition of producing world-class archers, Incheon City invited eager young athletes from Thailand to learn from the best.
They are so eager to learn, they just want to practice again and again.
The young athletes also make new friends during ice cream breaks. Coming from a country where temperatures can reach up to 40 degrees Celsius, the Thai students are enjoying the relative cool of late spring in South Korea.
With cooler temperatures like this, it's better to exercise here than in Thailand.
I like that we learn a new language and communicate while training with the Thai students. It's fun and helpful.
The Asia Sports Support Program was first introduced in 2007 in a celebration of the Incheon Asian Games that later took place in 2014.
Incheon City and the Olympic Council of Asia co-host this program. We invite students from countries with weak sports programs and send trainers and professionals abroad. We also provide funds for sports facilities.
During their 2-week-long training session, Thai students will also explore South Korea's cultural side by visiting the Incheon Intangible Cultural Heritage Museum, further strengthening public diplomacy between the two countries as well. Kim Da-mi, Arirang News.
Now, yet another BTS music video has hit the 100 million view mark on YouTube. This time, it's BTS member V's solo video for the Love Yourself tear comeback trailer Singularity. The video topped 100 million views on Sunday at around 6:50 p.m. Korea time. It's the 20th music video by BTS to have reached the milestone. Singularity, which was first released in May 2018, became the fastest solo K-pop video to reach 10 million views at the time. US President Donald Trump has broken his silence on restrictive abortion bans, outlining his strongly pro-life views on the highly sensitive issue. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Hong Yu. So what exactly is President Trump's stance on abortion, a highly sensitive issue in the United States?
Yes, Mark. President Trump denounced bills like the one that passed last week in Alabama and said in a tweet over the weekend that he's strongly pro-life, but does favor allowing women to get an abortion in the case of rape, incest, or if the life of the mother is at risk. President Trump's stance on abortion is different to Alabama Republicans who passed a bill that does not exempt abortion for either rape or incest. Governor Kay Ivey, who signed the new bill, said the measure might be unenforceable, but it's aimed at overturning Roe v. Wade, the landmark 1973 federal ruling that allowed women to be able to choose to have an abortion. 16 other states are also seeking to impose new restrictions on abortion, such as Georgia, Missouri, Mississippi, Ohio, and Kentucky, with their so-called fetal heartbeat bill that bans abortion from the moment a fetal heartbeat is detected. U.S. Senator Mitt Romney said in an interview on Sunday that he does not support the Alabama law. He said he's against abortion, but he favors exemptions for rape and incest and where the life of the mother is at risk. Abortion is a highly controversial issue in the U.S., with evangelical Christians in particular wanting to restrict or even outlaw abortion completely. It's also expected to be an important issue in the 2020 U.S. presidential campaign. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi appears poised to win re-election in the world's largest democracy. According to exit polls released on Sunday, Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party is on course to win the general election. A party needs 272 seats in parliament to form a government. If Modi does win, he will serve another 5-year term as the prime minister. The country's marathon national election, which began back on April 11th, ended on Sunday. Nearly 900 million people were eligible to vote. Official results will be announced on May 23rd. 4 passengers and the pilot have been killed after their small plane crashed into the sea shortly after takeoff from an airport in Honduras. Local authorities say Saturday evening's crash happened off Roatan Island, a tourist destination on the country's Atlantic coast. It's still unclear what caused the plane to crash. All of the passengers were U.S. citizens. The plane was headed to the tourist port city of Trujillo, about 80 kilometers from Roatan. American media icon Oprah Winfrey has been offering young people some tips on how to succeed in life. She was speaking to the class of 2019 at Colorado College on Sunday as she received an honorary doctorate from the school.
I was paying attention. You have to pay attention to your life because it is speaking to you all the time. And the bumps in the road and the failures that pointed me in a new direction and led me to a path made clear. That is what I'm wishing for you today, your own path made clear. And I know that there is a lot of anxiety, a lot.
She told the graduates that small steps can lead to big accomplishments. She also encouraged them to give back to their communities and change adversity into positivity.
Time now for our Life and Info segment, where we focus on information that we do hope will be useful for your everyday life. With an increasing number of Koreans embracing vegetarian diets, more plant-based meat, shall we say in quotation marks, products are being introduced to the country and doing very well. And companies have been working to mimic not only the taste and texture of meat, which they've been doing very well up to this point, but also now the juiciness. Our Park Se-young with more.
The patties sizzling on the grill are made of plants, with their main ingredient being pea protein. At this burger joint, veggie burgers are usually ordered by vegetarians and foreign customers.
We're offering an option for customers who have trouble digesting beef, do not like beef, or are looking for healthy food.
According to industry sources, about 10,000 packages of the meat-free patty product made by a plant-based food company in the U.S. were sold in just 1 month after being introduced to Korean customers in March. And Korea's Lotte Food has recently launched plant-based nuggets made of wheat protein. They're said to have preserved not only the taste and texture of chicken, but also meat juices using plant-based oil.
Because the nuggets are made of plant-based protein, they have high protein content and low fat and calories. They also do not contain cholesterol.
Vegan patties made using beans have been shunned by many in the past because their texture is different from actual meat. While it's still difficult for meat substitutes to resemble the actual thing, companies have been working to create a meat-like taste and texture by using vegetable protein and ingredients like fiber and yeast. According to the Korea Vegetarian Union, 1 to 1.5 million Koreans are estimated to be vegetarians, which is more than 10 times the 150,000 vegetarians in 2008. And with more people looking for food that's good for both the body and the environment, industry experts expect sales of plant-based meat substitutes to rapidly increase in the near future. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
Looks pretty tasty there. Now, moving on to more life and info news. Seoul City will open a fine dust research institute and will do so later today to oversee efforts to reduce the effects of environmental pollution here in the South Korean capital. According to the Seoul Metropolitan Government, on Sunday, the center will manage cooperative studies between the Seoul Institute, the Seoul Institute of Technology, and the Seoul Research Institute of Public Health and Environment. The three institutes will meet on a regular basis to share their findings, and the centre will select urgent problems for the three to work on together. It also plans to seek international cooperation with other Northeast Asian cities, including Beijing. The newly created centre will be headed by Park Nok-jin. He is a professor of the School of Earth and Environmental Sciences at Seoul National University. Now, great news for music fans here in South Korea, because British rock band Queen will hold their first ever concerts in South Korea. It's going to happen next January, so you still have a while to wait though, unfortunately. According to Hyundai Card, its latest super concert project will feature original guitarist Brian May and drummer Roger Taylor, and they'll also be joined by the group's new vocalist Adam Lambert. The concerts are part of the band's Rhapsody tour that's set to kick off this July in Vancouver. Now, the concerts here in Korea, they're going to be held at the Gocheok Sky Dome in Seoul on January 18th and 19th, so over 2 nights. Tickets start at $90 per person and will go on sale through Interpark and Yes24 at noon Korea time on July 13th. So make a note on your calendar. Hyundai card holders can book discounted tickets a day earlier and get 20% off. The film Bohemian Rhapsody, which you're watching on the screen now, about the band's late frontman Freddie Mercury, attracted more than 9 million moviegoers in South Korea last year.
Good morning. The weather will become more like summer as we go through this week, but not today. And it's very likely we won't see highs below 20 degrees again until the autumn. So enjoy the breeziness while it's here. So let's take a closer look at today's daily highs. Daily highs will range between 19 and 23 degrees Celsius under mostly sunny skies this afternoon. A great day to spend some time outdoors. What's more, air quality will be normal to good, And UV rays could go up high in the afternoon as skies turn sunny. So have your sunblock and sunglasses ready. Meanwhile, ozone levels will be high in Ulsan and Gyeongsang-Namdo province, but the rest of the country will have moderate levels. And we will notice a big rise in temperatures into the 30s by the end of the week, with plenty of sunshine expected. Meanwhile, morning lows will be in the low teens for next few days, leading to wide temperature differences. That's Korea for you, and here's international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Monday morning here in Seoul. Do stay tuned to us on Arirang TV, and a reminder that our next newscast is coming up at noon Korea time, around 90 minutes, with our very own Lee Ji-yoon. So until then, goodbye.